Thanks for joining us on episode 1644 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Amberly Lago. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to find your joy strategy is key, and one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader. And in that moment, I knew why. I knew why I was going to get through this. And I think when you ask yourself why, it activates your heart, it activates the human spirit, it gets your adrenaline going, it gets your blood pumping, and it allows you to get up again and again and again. So,
welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's podcast episode, I interview Amberly Lago. I ask Amberly about what real resilience means. I also ask Amberly to share with you what she means by joy as a strategy. And Amberly also shares with you tips on how to keep moving forward even when feeling challenged. I have a great book that's been out for a while now called Inspired Living. Assemble the puzzle of your calling by mastering your time, your talent, and your treasures. You can find out more about that book over at inspiredlivingbook.com. It'll take you to a page where there's information and you can sign up to get some mailings about it as well as purchase a copy there. I'd love to see you get a copy and share with me how it impacted your world. Amberly Lago is a USA Today best-selling author of Joy Through the Journey. She is an internationally renowned speaker on grit, resilience, and human connection, inspiring others to find joy through life's challenges. Amberly has captivated audiences at global corporations, including Lululemon, Google, Herbalife, Plexus, and Athleta. Her TEDx talk has garnered hundreds of thousands of views, motivating listeners around the world. As a highly sought-after thought leader, coach, and best-selling author, Amberly's expertise has been featured in prominent media outlets such as People, Health, and Shape magazine, Forbes, and USA Today, where she was named one of the nation's top influential speakers. She has also appeared on The Doctors, Hallmark, and The Today Show. Amberly hosts The Amberly Lago Show, a podcast ranked in the top 1% by Apple, where she shares impactful insights with leading experts and influencers. Throughout her career, Amberly has empowered thousands of clients to overcome personal and professional challenges, guiding them towards achieving unstoppable success. Amberly's own story of resilience is equally remarkable. After a devastating motorcycle accident and 34 surgeries to save her leg, she emerged stronger by developing her signature PACER method, a powerful framework that teaches how authentic connections foster resilience, joy, and lasting success. Welcome to the show, Amberly.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk to you today and visit a little bit. So I shared a little in the intro about some of the things you do, some of the things you've done, a little bit about your books, your methods, the work you do. But I also know that the work we do today doesn't come just out of nowhere. It comes from past experiences. It comes from our journey. So talk to us a little bit, take us back in time and talk to us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to the point where this is the message you feel called to put out into the world.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that awesome introduction. And I never imagined that I would be doing the work that I'm doing now. I never imagined I'd be standing on stages and sharing a message. I was never a speaker. I never imagined I would write books. I don't even have a college education, especially a fancy one like you from Texas A&M, where my daughter wants to go to school.
We were talking about that this morning. It's a good school.
I was in the fitness industry for 26 years. And before that, I was a professional dancer. So I lived my whole life on the dance floor and then the gym floor. I didn't even buy my first computer until about 7 years ago. So for me to be using technology, a mic and Zoom is quite impressive for myself because I'm trying to get more savvy with tech, but everything changed in the blink of an eye when I had a near-death accident. I was on my Harley coming home from work and I got hit by an SUV. And I think sometimes when we go through something very, very challenging, we think, well, I thought anyway, that there's no way I'm going to get through this. What am I going to do? I mean, I lost everything. I lost my career. I had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. When I was hit by the SUV, my leg was completely crushed into pieces. I didn't know it at the time, but my femoral artery was severed. Mm-hmm. And I was rushed to the hospital and I was put in induced coma because they couldn't control my pain. And I was literally bleeding out. I'd lost so much blood and all my organs were shutting down. And so when I woke up out of a coma, the first thing I learned was I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation. And I just remember waking up and the doctor saying, we are so sorry. Your leg is like a war wound. There's nothing we can do for you. We need to go ahead and amputate. And when they told me there was a 1% chance, I thought, well, so you're saying there's a chance. Like that's all I focused on was that 1%. And that was my glimmer of hope that got me through surgery after surgery, 34 surgeries in total to save my leg, months in the hospital, and just thousands of hours of excruciating physical therapy. And it wasn't like I got through that and then I was like, oh, all is good. And now I think I'm going to go be a keynote speaker and write books. It was years of in and out of the hospital and a diagnosis of complex regional pain syndrome, which is a disease of the sympathetic nervous system where there's supposedly no known cure. And for lack of a better term, it's where your nervous system needs to be rebooted. There's a constant loop of pain. So even though my accident was 15 years ago, I still live with constant chronic pain. And I have tried everything to get out of pain, from Eastern, Western medications. At one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills and 11 prescription medications. I've flown out of the country for radical treatments. And what I've learned and why I do the work that I do today is that, we can't always control what life throws our way. Things don't always go as planned. And, I've learned that pain and joy can coexist. And I might not be able to get out of this pain, but I can get through it. So, you might be sitting here listening going, well, I don't relate to you. I've never been hit by an SUV, or I don't have this incurable disease. But I feel like, Scott, we've all been hit by something, whether it's our finances, our relationships, our health, our business. We've all been hit by something. And the reason I have written, my first book, True Grit and Grace, is it takes grit to get through hard times. And by the grace of God, my leg was saved, my life was saved. And my second book, Joy Through the Journey, is because entrepreneurship, man, it can be tough sometimes. And I had found myself kind of letting that joy slip. And I thought, we have joy within us, and there are ways to spark that joy and thrive in life. And so I'm passionate about sharing different ways and different tools to get through challenges and hard times and show you that we are resilient, that we can get up, and being unstoppable is not about not falling down or not failing, because I've definitely done that a lot. I was just in the hospital 3 weeks ago again. And I just keep getting back up. My husband makes a joke and he's like, you just won't die. And I'm like, that's right.
What do we have all these insurance policies for?
Yeah.
Hopefully you have that on a recording, in case anything ever does mysteriously happen to you, that he'll be a suspect right away with that comment. You'll be on a true crime podcast next.
Yeah. Well, we've had to laugh. I love your laugh, by the way. And there was one time I was having an ankle surgery, and laughter has been part of our medicine, and my husband has put up with me through all of these surgeries and all of this. And I was having just an ankle surgery. It wasn't even one of my most complicated surgeries. And they go in and the doctor's marking which leg to operate on and stuff. And my husband goes, "So, doc, is there any way that she can die from this surgery?" And he looked at her like, "What?" He goes, "Well, because I just upped her life insurance and I just, I'm just checking. I want to make sure." And we were laughing, and the doctor did not think it was funny.
Did not think it was funny at all. Yeah. Yeah. When I had surgery before, I wrote a note for the doctor, like on all the other body parts, that basically said, "Not here, not here, not here." They thought that was funny because I came in. Of course, I'm in a robe, so they can see my legs, and there's like "not here" written all over my legs, and they're like, "Like you." I'm like, "Well, hey, I've heard it happens, so I just wanted to be clear."
That is hilarious. I need to do that if I have to have another surgery. But to look at my leg, you would think they wouldn't even have to mark it, because my right leg is it's deformed. My ankle's fused. I've got a muscle flap that they took the back of half of my calf and put it in the front of my leg. I've got skin grafts from the top of my leg to the bottom of my leg. So to look at me, you're like, "Oh yeah, well, that's the leg we need to work on." But they still had to write.
Oh no.
Which leg.
Yeah, they still want to mark it because mistakes happen. So they do everything they can to prevent them. So I definitely have some more I want to ask you about your books and your message. But before I go there, one of the things I like to highlight on the show is what I call the intersection between our faith journey and our life journey, and our life journey and our faith journey, and how there's a feedback loop. And a lot of times when folks go through an accident like you're talking about, a near-death experience, it can affect their faith, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively.
Mm-hmm.
All different reactions. So for you, how has your faith journey kind of evolved as you've gone through these different phases of your life, from dancer to accident to today?
Well, I've always, growing up in Texas, in the Bible Belt, I always went to church every Sunday. We did not miss church. If you better be on your deathbed if you were going to miss Sunday school, and so. But the thing is, I always felt more connected to God in nature. And even I ran track, and I'm telling you, I think I talked to God more running track. And I don't know if it was because I was like, "God, please get me through this," or what, but I would just always talk to God in nature. So I've always had a close connection with God through surgery after surgery. Prayer and faith, it got me through. But I will say that people think maybe that surgery after surgery was the hardest part of my journey, when I connected more closely to God, but it actually wasn't. It wasn't the point in which I really got more closely connected, because after my accident, when I was trying to get out of pain, and I was doing all kinds of treatments and I could not get out of pain, I started drinking. And I was never a drinker. And I remember thinking, well, this, being in the fitness industry, this isn't the healthiest thing to do. But if this is what I have to do to kind of numb out the pain, and it helped me numb out like emotionally and physically, and then that's what I'll have to do. Well, one glass led to 2 glasses of wine, led to vodka, and it didn't work anymore. And it was this constant cycle of, I was promising myself I would not drink, but the pain got so bad that I was just like, I wanted to scream uncle, and I just wanted to knock one back to try to numb it out. And it was in my lowest point, the darkest part of my journey. And I remember I was in the bedroom, and I thought, my daughters could find another mom. My husband could find another wife. I was really to the point where I didn't want to live anymore, but I was too afraid to die. And I remember just getting on my knees and praying and like hearing, don't give up, keep going. And it gave me the courage to ask for help. And that, boy, it took every ounce of courage to reach out and say, I got a problem. And by the grace of God, I got sober in 2016 and started getting my life back. And I think a 12-step recovery meeting, the first step is, do you believe in a higher power? Mm-hmm. And even though I'd grown up going to church, I think that my faith was strengthened through my sobriety journey. I'd kind of cut the connection off. When you're numbing out everything. You're numbing out the connection to your higher power and everything. Now that I've been sober, I fully rely on God. And I didn't realize how much I say fully rely on God until people start. And I always say, I talk about a frog. And my daughter even made me this cute little frog, a ceramic frog that's on my desk that reminds me to fully rely on God. Mm-hmm. And now, Scott, I'm getting people that send me frogs. I got this cute little frog sitting in a chair. And so my desk and I'll be out and I'll see a frog and I'm like, okay, God, I see, there's your sign. But I think that my sobriety journey has helped strengthen my faith even more. And let me tell you, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I pray. I pray for my friends. I pray for God to keep me sober and lift the obsession, even though I've been sober for years. And the last thing I do when I get in bed, sometimes it's just like, thank you, God, for another day sober. Because when I stay sober, I get to be here with you. I get to do the things that I do, and I get to hopefully help someone else get through that struggle. And I mean, I had a lot of shame about that at first, but now I talk about it because if I can help one person to know that they're not alone, because I think when you're struggling, you feel like you're so alone, but you're never alone. You've always got God on your side.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been sober since 99.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I grew up, I'm the son of an alcoholic, and I didn't actually go through a 12-step program. I actually quit cold turkey in 99. Technically before I was an alcoholic, but I recognized that I was on the road to becoming one morning when I realized that I was thinking about putting whiskey in my coffee before I went to work because I felt like I needed it to get through the day.
Yeah.
So, and when I got to work, I called my wife and said, get rid of every drop in the house. I never want to touch alcohol again because I know where this road ends. And I've been sober since 99. So
that's amazing.
But it's just, yeah. So congratulations too on your sobriety, because that is a big, people don't realize how hard that really is. And like you said, it's an everyday thing. It's not like that goes away. It's kind of like grief. It's always there. It may be less, it may be more, but it's there. You get to deal with it.
Yeah. I think my husband heard an interview years ago, and it was on the news. We were listening to the radio and it just happened to come on, and he was like, I think it hit him. I mean, he was a California highway. He was a lieutenant commander. And so he had a lot of shame about him being married to an alcoholic. What? And, I don't think he understood it at all. And then he heard this interview and he looked at me and he goes, wow, I had no idea it was that hard. And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. You talked a lot earlier, and it just even now came out in your story. We talk about resilience. You hear that word a lot. It's almost kind of like coaching and some of the other things. It's become a buzzword, or leadership, and yet I think it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So for you, what does resilience mean? When you talk about it, what are you talking about?
Oh, well, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means to bounce back. And I learned the hard way. It does most definitely, I don't think, means to bounce back. I think it's bouncing forward. I think it's choosing the courage to move forward no matter what, even when things don't go as planned. So you can have a life of joy and happiness and thrive, because that's what life is all about. And for me, I think that resilience starts with one thing, and you've already said it, that you were like, I realized I wanted to put whiskey in my coffee. It's like, it's having that awareness and taking a good hard look at your life and being honest with yourself, because how can you get up again? How can you move forward? How can you go after the vision you've created if you aren't radically honest with yourself and you don't know who you are, where you are on your journey? And so my transformation of resilience started with getting radically honest with myself and taking a good hard look at, okay, and you know what? A good way to do that is to ask yourself, how's that working for you? Is it helping you or is it hurting you? And once you take a look, then you can start to move forward. But I also learned that I was asking all the wrong questions. When I was stuck in the hospital bed, I remember I got out of the hospital and we had a hospital bed in the living room. And being in so much pain, I was completely bedridden. I had to use a bedpan, which was so humbling, having to use a bedpan every day. And I remember just being in so much pain, I would throw up. It would make me sick. And I remember going, how am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? How am I going to start training clients again? And I was asking how and what. And I think when you ask how and what, it puts you in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I was spiraling down. But then I heard this little voice, and it was my daughter. And she was 2 years old at the time. And all she said was, Mama. And in that moment, I knew why. I knew why I was going to get through this. And I think when you ask yourself why, it activates your heart, it activates the human spirit, it gets your adrenaline going, it gets your blood pumping, and it allows you to get up again and again and again. So I always think of, even if I'm struggling as an entrepreneur and want to throw in the towel, I remember why I started and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And that gives me I remember, okay, this is why I'm doing it. And then I know how I'm going to get through it, because I will figure it out when you know your why.
Yeah. I actually literally just did a talk last year about focus on the why, not the what. So that was the title of the talk. So I started laughing when you said that, because I'm like, that's exactly what I just got through telling people last year.
Wow.
So, talking to a group of entrepreneurs and leaders from around the world, and a virtual conference, and got to share that talk. And I think that's, people kind of hear that sometimes as a woo-woo kind of, mystical. It's really not. It's psychology. It's neuroscience. It's how our brains work. When we focus on the what, we tend to get bogged down in the, oh, I got to know all the steps. I got to know all the stuff. I got to know, I'm going to do it wrong. And blah, 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 blah. But when you go, yeah, but I'm doing it for my daughter. I'm doing it so that she has a mama. All of a sudden it's like, I'll figure this out. I'll get her done, because, I don't know how yet, but I don't care. I'll figure it out. It'll happen. It's weird how that can change. So.
Yeah. And, I thought to myself, well, I knew why I was going to do it. I wanted to be an example of resilience to both my daughters, and show them that it is possible to get up and to go again, and you can have setbacks. And it's been a journey. I mean, I had to learn to love myself again. I had to learn to accept all the scars. But again, when I thought of why, I thought, well, I want my daughters, if they have any imperfections, which I think they're basically perfect, just, being their mama, but to accept themselves.
But that doesn't always mean they think they're perfect.
Exactly. But, when it hit me, Scott, is my youngest daughter is a horseback rider, and she used to pretend to be a horse, and she was running around and hit a bench and her leg split open. We had to rush her to the ER. She's getting stitched up. And so we go to get the stitches out at her doctor, and the doctor looks at her and says, oh, well, I reckon with scars like this, your modeling days are over. And she goes, well, I don't care about these scars. I don't want to be a model. I want to be a horseback rider when I grow up. And I was just like, I love that. But if I focused on hiding my scars and being self-conscious and being a victim of my circumstances instead of choosing to be the victor, maybe she wouldn't have reacted that way. Maybe she would have been self-conscious about the scars. She doesn't care. She's like proud of it's like her scars tell a story and she's proud of it.
Mhm. Yeah, she's earned them.
She earned it. Yeah. And that's kind of how I look at mine. It's like, man, I used to look down at my leg with disgust. I really did. I hated it. About a year after my accident, I even went to the doctor and said, you know what? This isn't working out. I appreciate you doing all these surgeries, but we need to go ahead and amputate. And he's the one that really changed my life. Dr. Wiss put my leg in his lap and he looked down at it and was looking at it like it was a masterpiece. He said, well, we can't cut it off. It might make the CRPS spread. It might make it worse. But the way he looked at my leg changed everything. And it allowed me to start to look at the scars as, wow, look at how the body heals. Look at how strong the human spirit is and look at what you can overcome. And that changed everything for me. And sometimes I think we need someone to believe in us until we can believe in ourselves, or look at us and see the potential in us until we can see it in ourselves, or love us before we can love ourselves. And so, Dr. Don Wiss retired and he just wrote a book, and I'm going to have him on my podcast. He's a hero. He's like amazing.
And I mean, think about it. The leg is a miracle. I mean, 1% chance, and those doctors doing their work, that's not any less of a miracle than it spontaneously healing. Those doctors' gifts came from God just as surely as anything else. So,
yeah. And I haven't shared this story much, but so after my accident, all of a sudden, my leg was bending in where it's not supposed to. Like you could grab my knee and my ankle and bend the middle of my leg, and it hurt like you wouldn't. I couldn't even walk on it anymore. I was trying, but I couldn't even walk on it. So I went into Dr. Wiss and I said, hey, I think something's wrong. And he goes, what? And I took my knee and my ankle and I bent my leg, and he goes, oh. And he said, we got to do an x-ray. So he does the x-ray and he goes, I don't believe this. He goes, you've broken the titanium in your leg, because I had plates all along my leg. And my husband goes, how does somebody break titanium in their leg? And he goes, well, she's done it. It's kind of like, it's the hardest metal that there is. But he said, imagine if you've got a big oak tree with a limb, and day by day, you're wiggling that limb every single day. Eventually, the limb is going to break. He goes, that's what happened. The metal was only as good as fast as the body can heal. And I had a non-union in my bone for 2 inches that hadn't healed. It took 2 years for that to heal. I said, I thought maybe they could put a cast on it, but he couldn't. He said, we got to do another surgery. It was a 12-hour surgery for him to take out the broken pieces and put the rod in. And I had to have a team of doctors. I had to have the plastic surgeon to go in through the muscle flap. And Dr. Sherman, who was the plastic surgeon that helped Dr. Wiss, he was laughing. He said, you wouldn't believe, I've never seen Dr. Wiss like that before. He had beads of sweat dripping down his head. 12 hours he was working on your leg. He didn't give up on me and didn't give up on it because he knew I wasn't giving up. And so after that surgery, I kept calling pathology saying, hey, I need that metal. That's $62,000 worth of metal. I want that metal. All the broken pieces they took out of my leg. Finally, the third call, they said, okay, we're going to give you the metal. They come up, they give me a bag of all these broken pieces of titanium. And do you know what I did? I made a wind chime out of it. It's right outside my office. So now every time I hear that wind chime, it makes me, I remember how far I've come. And I think that's important whenever you're discouraged, or whenever you feel like giving up, or whenever you're beating yourself up, or you don't feel like you're far enough along on your journey, to think about the hardest thing you've ever overcome and remember how far you've come. And when you can get through that hard challenge, you can get through the next one and the next one.
Yeah, it sometimes we forget, you've already survived every day that was the hardest day. No matter what,
Exactly.
no matter
Uh-huh.
who you are, no matter what you've been through or haven't been through, you've already survived whatever your hardest days were. That's the only way you're still walking around,
Yeah.
and therefore, again, logically, not that our brains work on logic, but logically, well, you can survive the next one too.
Yeah.
But when you're in the dark spot of the soul, it's hard to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we all need a titanium wind chime.
Yeah. Hey, maybe I should start making some wind chimes. I have a store with like hoodies and candles and tumblers and stuff. And he just said, "Hey, is there anything else that I'm going to market to figure out new things?" I was like, maybe a gratitude journal. Maybe I should tell him, no, I need to start selling wind chimes at my store. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we need things to remind us.
Mm-hmm.
It's other people, other messages. Hearing your story on the podcast, whatever it is. Sometimes we need other things to remind us. So maybe you do need to sell some wind chimes.
No, I'm writing it down.
Might not be a bad idea, actually. Now that I think about it, right?
Thank you, Scott. I need to, make sure we got some wind chime. There is something to be said for when you can. That's why I love like music
Mm-hmm.
or even the smell of cookies. Like there's a smell, like when I go to San Francisco, I lived there for a year. There's a certain smell when you're driving through Oakland and get into San Francisco. It brings back such good memories. You can hear a song on the radio that will take you back 30 years. And so, yeah, maybe a wind chime will be that little cue to never give up.
So I want to talk to a little bit about your newer book, The Joy Through the Journey. Talk a little bit about joy. No, you don't talk about it just as an emotion, but more of a strategy or a process. So what do you mean when you talk about joy through the journey?
Well, I had that. My friend, I don't know if you know who John Gordon is, but he actually wrote the foreword to the book. But I asked him to write the foreword because a few years ago, he's like, "Amberly, you talk about joy a lot. I'm really good at book titles. Your next book, it needs to be called Joy Through the Journey." So I had that on a sticky note for a long time. And I've always been a pretty joyful person. I mean, I remember even when I could first walk again, it wasn't pretty, but I had the biggest smile on my face and I was just so filled with joy because I could walk and I did have my
Mm-hmm.
leg. But I think that joy as a strategy is when you love something, when you are so filled with joy doing something, you're going to keep going. And joy is contagious. I think that when people are around others that are just joy sparkers, is what I call them, joy sparkers,
Mm-hmm.
it is contagious and it's good energy, and energy is everything and everything is energy. And I don't know about you, but I want to be around those people who are sparking joy. But joy is a strategy because there's been times when it's been hard or I've been stressed or I've been filled with anxiety or grief. And I remember even when, this time last year, we lost my dog who was like my therapy dog. This dog was with me through every surgery. And I remember thinking, not that I didn't want to feel the feelings or didn't want to recognize that I was filled with sadness, but I was like, I just need a little reprieve. I need to have some joy. What is going to spark some joy? And I thought, well, putting up the Christmas tree will. So I put up the Christmas tree earlier than we ever had before. Still felt I couldn't stop crying. Still was like, I need some joy. Sometimes I think that you need to change your environment, move your body because movement moves your mood.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got outside and I realized this one thing, and this has to do with joy and also resilience, that I used to try to just grit it out and push through and keep going. And what I've learned is that, that grit that I'm not good at many things, but I was good at the grit and I was good at like sparking some joy. But grit and joy without connection is just resistance. But grit and joy with connection, that's where we truly find resilience. And so I needed to get out and just connect and see somebody smile And so if you're going through a hard time, go see how you can help somebody else. Make a phone call, see how you can serve. Go for me, I went to Home Goods. I love Home Goods, and I was like, I need to spark some joy. I need to find joy. And you know, the first thing I saw when I walked in that store was a sign that said joy. And I was like, okay, there's my sign. And I just needed to see people and say hello and smile at them and see them smile back and ask how they were doing, genuinely know how they were doing, because that connection is what allows you to spark joy, to be resilient, and to keep going throughout the ups and downs of life.
Yeah. And I do think I think there is a connection between resilience, joy, grit. Each of those things is important, but each of them can only get you so far by themselves. You know, it's all of those things connected together.
Yeah.
You've mentioned community, you've mentioned connection, and I think that's important because I think a lot of times we try to make it just one thing, and it isn't just one thing. It's a whole collections of things that let us get through it.
Yeah. And it's, the resilience is what is going to allow you to get up again. But it's the joy that's going to fuel you for your journey.
Yeah. It's like the what is the destination, the why is the fuel. The grit is the get through itness, but the joy is the fuel, the thing that drives it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And leads to resilience. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. One of the things too, that I heard in your story, and you talked earlier about, liking to laugh about it. And I want to be clear. It's not that you're making light of it. It's not that you're ignoring it. It's not that you're being Pollyanna about it. But it is leaning into and finding the moments of laughter, the moments of connection, the moments that lead you to something else that helps get through it too. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember, so when I was on my crutch, finally able to be on crutches and upright again, I fell down the stairs on my crutches. And I ended up.
I wonder why that titanium may have begun to get under some stress, huh?
Yeah.
Probably not connected at all.
Yeah. And I mean, I when I was falling, I put my hand out and of course broke my wrist.
Yep.
And my oldest daughter was like, Mom, oh my gosh, holy. And she said a cuss word and she never cusses. And I'm holding my wrist up and my whole arm is flopped over. And she goes, I said, it's okay. I just need to go get this fixed. I'm trying to keep calm. And she's like, Mom, it's not okay. It's broken. And I'm like, well, you know what? Can you call your dad for me? We need to go to the hospital. And my husband comes in the door. He was on duty at the time. He comes in, he's in uniform. I have my arm hidden behind my back. And he's like, let me see it. And I'm like, no, you don't need to see it. Just take me to the ER. And anyway, I was hoping they could just put a cast on it. No, they had to do surgery. And so taking me to surgery.
A bit of a pattern there too. They could just put a cast on. Nope, we got to do surgery.
Nope, got to do surgery. So there I was. I could barely walk on my leg. And I remember my husband dropped me off at Cedars and I'm walking through to go check in. And I got my arm in a temporary cast all the way up to my shoulder. And I'm hobbling, like barely walking. And this guy walks, he goes, oh man, what happened to you? And I was like, motorcycle accident. And he goes, yeah, I rode a motorcycle and broke my pinky, and that was it for me. And I told my husband when we walked in, we were just laughing, and I was like, oh my gosh, a broken pinky, that was it for you? Like, I wish that was the worst of mine, but so we've learned to laugh. And even my daughter, when I've been hobbling along without trying, I'm not trying to limp, I'm trying to walk without a limp. She'll go, who am I? And she'll start walking funky like I walk. And we just start laughing because, man, when you're going through sometimes that's all you can do is laugh. It's like this, if I told people some of the things that happened this past year, they would never believe it. And so, because it's just like, wow, what more can you, a person can go through? But laughter has just been our medicine because, life is short. And my husband reminds me all the time not to take myself too seriously because I can. And then he will make me laugh. And it's like, yeah, let's laugh. Let's have some fun. Let's get through this because what's the alternative? Sitting in misery.
It doesn't change the situation either way.
Yeah.
You're in the same situation. It's recognizing that you have that power of choice too, that I think is so important. That it again, it's not that it excuses it. It's not that it makes it go away. It's not that if this was something that someone else did, like you're in an abusive situation, it doesn't make it right. But you can learn where do you have the power of choice? Where do you have the power to move forward?
Yeah. And I think once you realize you have that power of choice, it really empowers you. You're like, oh, I can make a decision. And I always ask myself, I don't say why me, I say what's next?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? And I focus on what I can do instead of what I can't do.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a few questions that I like to ask all of my guests, but before I ask you those, is there anything about either of your books or the message or the work you do that you'd like to share with the listener?
Yeah, I just want you to know that you have the power to change your life. It doesn't, we can't control things that circumstances, but we can't control the cards we've been dealt, but we can choose to play the heck out of those cards. And so surround yourself with people who believe in you, who are encouragers, who see the potential in you. If you don't see the potential in yourself right now, I think community is powerful. And just to know that you're not alone. Like for me, remembering to fully rely on God instead of trying to figure it all out all by myself, and knowing that there's a power greater than me, that I don't have to have it all figured out, that God is the director. And so I just don't want people, that's what really changed my life, is knowing that I wasn't alone. It took the most courage to ask for help. But if you're struggling, ask for help, reach out. It could be to a stranger on Instagram and sending them a DM. Reach out to me, shoot me a DM. I answer all my DMs at Amberly Lago Motivation, but really don't do it alone. There is power with connection and community.
So my brand is Inspired Stewardship, and I kind of run things through that lens of stewardship. And yet I've discovered, kind of like resilience, that's one of those words that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So for you, when you hear the word stewardship, what does that word mean to you?
I really think that as leadership, and I think of it as connection and teamwork and setting a good example and walking the walk and practicing what you preach. To me, I want to learn from somebody who's actually done the things that I want to achieve, but also doing the things that I want to do. They're not just all talk. They're actually in the trenches with me.
So this is my favorite question that I like to ask everybody. Imagine for a moment that I invented this magic machine. And with this machine, I was able to take you from where you are today and transport you into the future, maybe 150, maybe 250 years. And through the power of this machine, you were able to look back and see your entire life, see all of the connections, all of the ripples, all of the impacts you've left. What impact do you hope you've had in the world?
I hope that the impact I've had is showing that people that they can be unstoppable, they can be empowered, they can be resilient, and they can spark joy through the journey, through not just my books, but through my work, through my events where I support. Like this year, we're supporting Call to Freedom, which is to help support women who have been survivors of human trafficking. So I hope that maybe one thing I said from stage empowers somebody to never give up. And also that I've left a legacy with my daughters to teach their children to never give up.
So what's on the roadmap? What's coming next as you continue on your journey?
Well, I'm excited. Lots of times of travel, speaking across the country, which is my favorite thing to do. Never thought I'd be speaking from stage. And what I love about it most is that I get to meet some amazing people, these connections that I've made from all over the world. And so just doing a lot of speaking. My publisher is asking me, do I have another book? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a lot writing a book. So I'm not sure, but they are asking me, are you ready to write your next book? I think my husband might kill me if I write another book, because it's not just the book writing. That's the easy part. I think it's the book marketing and the launch that's a lot.
So you can find out more about Amberly and her book, both of them, Joy Through the Journey and True Grit and Grace, over at amberlylago.com. Of course, I'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. Amberly, is there anything else you'd like to share with the listener?
I would just want to say again, if you could take anything from our time together today, just let it be this, that you're never alone, that change is possible and hope is available. So reach out today. You can reach out to me. And thank you again, Scott, for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Go over to inspiredstewardship.com/iTunes rate, all one word, iTunes rate. It'll take you through how to leave a rating and review and how to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get every episode as it comes out in your feed. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.